in their last 8 games. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's our anniversary.
Every weekday during the month of June, we're giving away gear from the KBLA.store to say thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our 2nd anniversary. Each weekday, a different host will be giving away fresh merch to one lucky caller. All you have to do is keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA.store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not too serious. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DePrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DePrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DePrima. The show is called First Things First, and my first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God Almighty, asking for the blessings of the ancestors, the elders, and you. And let's go. Happy Monday. We have a lot to talk about like we do every day. Those of you who are a part of our KBLA delegation know how we do it. Hour one, we go local. We look local. What's going on the West Coast? What's going on in your community, in your neighborhood, and of course, in Leimert Park, Africatown, USA, where we broadcast from every day. Hour two, we go national, international, and beyond. We open up the phone lines for whatever is on your mind. In hour three, we do a deep dive with the persons or a topic of interest. And today, it's a Messy Monday. Messy Monday, my opinionated friends' take on relationships. A series we started with Big John Harrell, who really had people in their feelings with some of the things he was saying about relationships. And I think it's a conversation worth having. I put it on the calendar because there's so much political stuff going on at all times that it is very, very easy to not pay any attention to mental health, personal relationships, and the kind of learning and growth that we can do in those areas is also important on the self-care, spiritual development, personal development side of things. So that's coming up. And my friend, my opinionated friend for today is comedian Ron G. Him and his wife actually do an Instagram show about relationships, which is very fun and enlightening. Ron G will be coming solo this time. We'll have to do a follow-up with his wife because they are expecting a baby any minute. So we do have a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of good things. I had the honor and the blessing of hosting a panel on reparations inside the Empowerment Congress this week, along with Tavis Smiley, who was the MC for the whole day. Of course, the Empowerment Congress, founded by then council member, and this is way back when he was a council member in the 8th District, Mark Ridley Thomas. Dr. Ridley Thomas, in that work, is what gave birth to our neighborhood council system, which is unique in the nation, but although some have modeled after it, in allowing people in neighborhoods and communities to have direct input in city government with the support of city government. They're elected officials. They're not paid, but they do have a budget to work with, and they are able to offer their expertise, their expectations, and their experience of what's going on inside their community in order to help city government better serve that neighborhood, better serve them and meet the needs of the residents, the businesses, and whatnot. All of that comes out of the work, the organizing work of the Empowerment Congress under the leadership of Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. And so yesterday they had their annual, was it yesterday? No, it was the day before yesterday. The weekend just goes into one big blur, like a unibrow, but for days. Anyway, it was Saturday. And Senator Stephen Bradford joined my colleague and friend, Attorney Areva Martin, as panelists about the concept of reparations. And while there are challenges ahead, there are also lots of good things happening when it comes to the conversation about reparations, which no matter where in the world we're talking about is always a local issue, because California set it off by having the first reparations task force in the nation. Their report is due at the end of this month, and we got work to do. We got work to do to make this more than a study, to make it an actual repair. That's coming up, plus my special guest. Oh, yeah, it's a big day around here. Happy Monday, KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Have you faced discrimination in Los Angeles? The City of LA Civil Rights Department can help. They investigate private sector discrimination in LA City in commerce, education, employment, and housing. If you're facing discrimination, submit a complaint online for free at laisforeveryone.com. That's laisforeveryone.com, or call 213-978-1845.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Okay. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, inviting you to join me weekdays from 9 a.m. to 12 noon for conversations that matter. Every day, I talk to influencers, content creators, trendsetters, change makers, and world beaters who are doing their part to make America a nation that will one day be as good as its promise. So be sure to join me, Tavis Smiley, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon as we curate smart conversations for smart people just like you.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hi, it's Dominique DePrima from KBLA Talk 1580. It's going down on Juneteenth weekend, Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. for the Ribbon Cutting and Street Festival for the New Orleans corridor in Los Angeles. You know it. It's about time this important part of our story, our culture, was recognized by LA. Join Mayor Karen Bass, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and Grammy Award-winning musicians Irvin Mayfield, Terrace Martin, and 1,500 or Nothing for an amazing celebration. Go to NOLA-to-LA-tickets.org to claim your free ticket. That's NOLA-to-LA-tickets.org. I'll be your MC, and I will see you there. Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. It's the New Orleans corridor in LA for Juneteenth 2023.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, we're Tasha,
Kiel, and Euro from KBLA's Lyric Lounge.
Check us out every Saturday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and every Sunday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Tune in as we break down some of your favorite song lyrics from all genres of music.
From gospel to pop and hip-hop to rock and everything else in between, we cover it all.
So come hang out in the Lyric Lounge with Tasha,
Kiel, and Euro every Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. and every Sunday at 6 p.m.
Let the music play.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black. Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Right now, let's get back to you. You're invited in all the time. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. You can call me from any area code and weigh in, because that's what we do around here. I'm joined in studio, and that means you can see us live on YouTube. Cameras everywhere around here. And just go to youtube.com, then go KBLA 1580. Joined by a veteran educator and environmental champion, a lifelong public servant who says he cares deeply for his community and has dedicated his life to making a better future for everyone. Born in Detroit, son of union auto workers and entrepreneurs, moved from the deep South for jobs and opportunity, and got inspired after hearing a speech by then Senator Barack Obama. Ended up working with the Obama White House, and now a 10-year resident of Los Angeles, an environmental advocate, working to protect the San Gabriel Mountains and urban oil drilling, among other things. Steve Dunwoody, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's funny because the stereotype is that environmentalism is not for black people. But that's kind of ironic when you consider the fact that we are most impacted by environmental toxins, pollution. It's disproportionate. The idea of environmental racism, most folks have heard of, but don't really, I think, quite focus on the fact that this means, aside from the fact that if we don't have a habitable planet, every other issue is moot. But when it specifically comes to black folks, we have more at stake than most.
Oh, absolutely. When you look at the history of redlining in this country, and specifically dividing up areas for residential homes, and you see the implicit racial bias in where those homes are placed, and the availability of those have been disproportionately placed in terms of factories and other kinds of locations that are allowed to operate, but disproportionately placed in black and brown communities. So we deal with pollution and other kinds of environmental hazards firsthand, more so than other communities. So we are very much at the forefront of the environmental issue, particularly around issues surrounding environmental justice, and urban oil drilling that you just said was just one example of that.
Yeah, it actually amazed me when I moved to LA, because I wasn't so much exposed to this from the Bay Area, that there are just oil wells right in the middle of the city, like by USC, all through Kenneth Hahn Park, where people work out and play. Right there on Fairfax, where the kids have the soccer fields, they're just like, oil well, never mind me, just pumping away. That's a normal thing in Los Angeles. And I don't know, to me, it's kind of creepy, honestly.
Well, yes, in Los Angeles, there are these numerous sites and places where oil is being pumped, even perhaps without folks' knowledge, because some of the drilling locations have been covered up with kind of faux buildings that are not quite buildings. They don't have windows on them.
Oh, really? They're like the buildings on the Hollywood lots. It's just like to cover up an oil?
Right.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And then, the Inglewood oil field in particular is a place where it's not covered This is the largest urban oil drilling field in the country, and it's right here, neighboring the communities of Leimert Park and Baldwin Hills and Culver City. So,
do we have those like in Malibu? Do we have those urban oil wells? Do we have them in Brentwood?
Good luck finding those. No, we don't.
Beverly Hills, maybe?
Well, actually, there is a hidden oil drill in Beverly Hills near the high school.
What?
Yes. It's covered up, and if someone didn't know what they were looking for, they'd never find it.
That's crazy. It looks like a purse store or something. Well, so... So, I mean, we laugh about it, but I didn't. The other thing I learned a couple of years ago is that a lot of these oil companies, when they're done, they just abandon the wells. And they can leave that mess, the toxic environmental mess, they could just leave it. And we, the taxpayers, have to clean it up, or else it doesn't get cleaned up at all.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't litter without facing a fine. But they can leave a whole oil well. Can we fix that?
Yes, when these oil companies are operating in our communities, a lot of the responsibility for that cleanup does get left with the operating municipality or local government. Now, in the case of the Inglewood oil field, the arrangement is very much so that the company would take part in cleaning that site up. And I think overall what we're seeing is the state step forward. We saw that with legislation in the past year that worked to increase the setback for oil well operations near residential homes, and that's huge in being able to ensure that our communities stay protected from the health hazards.
Explain what you mean by setback.
Setback. So that means that the oil company cannot operate within a couple thousand feet from where residents actually are living, which is very beneficial because we've had so many examples of cancer clusters from exposure, as well as asthma as high as 50% near some of the schools that are operating very close by. So, having that setback is just vital and important, and glad to have it. However, we're looking at the task of now having to defend that in the next year, as the issue will be on the ballot.
Interesting, because of course I wonder how much difference does a few thousand feet make? I guess it's better than having the toxin in your face, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna protect against a cancer cluster.
Well, the hope is that with less exposure and less of that happening anyway, in the case of urban oil drilling, that we would be able to phase that out. And what we're seeing is that with both the city council as well as, with the state, we are phasing out urban oil drilling altogether so that it won't take place. And that in the Inglewood oil field is one example of it being phased out now.
Well, that's good news. Always like to start our days with good news. I was talking before you got here about the Empowerment Congress that I was able to take part in this weekend, the legacy of Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas and his wife, Avis Ridley Thomas, and which, of course, gave birth to the neighborhood councils. It's a unique structure that we have in the city of Los Angeles. It allows people to get involved in directly influencing their city government. But the panel I did was on reparations with Attorney Areva Martin and Senator Steve Bradford. And what I consider, we're facing a lot of pushback. There's a new poll that said something only like 29% of Californians support reparation payments for Black people. This doesn't surprise me. I kind of think it's pretty bold that most of those folks are not Black, feel they have a right to say whether or not we deserve reparations. I don't think you should be paid back for 12 generations of work without pay. I don't support that. But in any case, that the California Reparations Task Force, which was the first of its kind in the nation, is delivering their report June 30th. The last day to comment is June 29th. In Sacramento, they're having a hearing. But obviously, this survey and the reaction of lawmakers to some attempts by progressive and Black lawmakers to legislate some of the stuff that we're hearing from the report is hitting roadblocks. So my feeling is we're going to have to talk about reparations, write about it, normalize it, protest for it. Otherwise, it remains a study and dies on the vine. What are your thoughts?
It's just remarkable that, this country has issued reparations for so many groups, for the Japanese who were interned, for, a number of other different groups. It's just remarkable that when it comes to reparations for, the Black community, we have to kind of go through all of these kinds of processes, when I think if the government had just done it in the first place, we wouldn't have to go through that. My grandmother grew up on a plantation in the South. She was a sharecropper, came from a sharecropping family in Mississippi. And, you had to move from plantation to plantation in order to be able to just make it. A lot of times they could not, receive payment in the form of cash. They receive payment in livestock. There were, desperate times where they, had to kind of eat, cook and eat weeds. And my grandmother kind of laughs now just because now people eat a lot of the spring
field greens, right? Exactly.
Where she had to cook
now
it.
It's considered farm to table, but
yes,
but not if you that's all you have.
Exactly. And, and her only way out was to get married at, the age of 15, and leave there and move north to Detroit. So when I think about, the experience of slavery and the experience post-slavery, where we had still, folks who were engaging in sharecropping, we had systemic racism, we had any number of different forms of things take place. That has to be compensated, not only for the labor, but also, the murder, the rape, the systemic racism that was just in place,
and the taking back of. I mean, we'd build a Black Wall Street with those kinds of things were all over the country, and then they'd burn it down or take it back through even a domain. The Bruce's Beach is not an uncommon story.
Exactly. So, what people need to know is that no one here alive today is responsible for slavery. Yet everyone has benefited from the wealth that was created from that slavery. So, therefore, it's the responsibility of the government to be able to correct that and issue those reparations out. I think we need to be more strident here in California in ensuring that that's done, and hopefully see that take place across the country.
Yeah, it's true, because I think if you take marriage equality as an example, or cannabis as an example, where states start to push through legislation and change the popular opinion, that can have a domino effect across the nation. And then you see, as in the case of marriage equality, becomes the law of the land. Hopefully that will survive this extreme court that we currently have. But I think with reparation, we're in a similar situation. We have to change popular opinion. We have to pressure lawmakers. I mean, the fact that 71% of Californians think that racial discrimination contributes to economic inequalities, but only 43% wanted the task force and only 29% support reparations. So it's like, yeah, we know you're facing racism and discrimination, but the only thing that they support is an apology. 60% approve of an apology. So you want the government to say sorry, but we're keeping all your money, your 12 generations of free labor? Sorry. I mean, it's not like you took, my car or borrowed a cup of sugar and never gave it back. 12 generations of unpaid labor.
Mm. And we're seeing even that play out today with the difference between the Black and white wealth gap. And how over the years and generations, the lack of that wealth that had been generated has taken place to all the way up until this day, in the disparity we see between in the racial wealth gap.
Yeah, that by the way, from the PPIC, it's a think tank out of San Francisco, nonpartisan think tank that did that survey. But to me, it doesn't say, oh, give up. It says we have our work cut out for us. That means when the Reparations Task Force drops their final report on June 30th, we have to get to work. Well, we should be at work anyway right now. Let's go to Howard calling from Watts. Howard, we have news, traffic, and sports in a minute and a half. So you can start and we can finish on the other side. What's up? Good morning. Happy Monday. Howard, you there?
Oh, thank you. Wow. I'm trying to wake up. Anyway, I was want to comment.
Wait, pro tip. Wake up first, then call. Go ahead, Howard.
I don't know. I had to have my little sessions on the couch, but, this might be a couch getting off my chest session. But I just want to comment on Trump. I think we're at a crossroads right here in democracy. If that guy get over, I think all hell is going to break loose from both sides, really. And we just have to watch that. And I hope he goes to jail. And I want to be a status. I want to see him in some prison pinstripes, those striped uniforms they wear. Orange jumpsuit, that'd be too classic. That'd be fashionable. I want to see some old-fashioned pinstripes, like that. And we got to be just check this out. Tomorrow's going to be a very pivotal day as far as this trial goes. It's going to determine worldwide implications too. So how are we going to go around the world telling people what to do, and we won't prosecute our criminals?
Yeah. We've got news, traffic, and sports. We can continue the conversation. Looking forward to getting Steve Dunwoody's response to this, because there is a lot attention. This is going to be fraught, whether he's held accountable or not. Either way it goes, some folks are going to be angry. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The man accused of killing a homeless man with a chokehold in a New York City subway has released a video statement through his attorneys. Daniel Penny and his team released a series of videos Sunday evening, where Penny recounts his thoughts leading up to the encounter that resulted in Jordan Neely's death.
The three main threats that he repeated over and over was, I'm going to kill you, I'm prepared to go to jail for life, and I'm willing to die.
Penny says he wasn't trying to kill Neely, but just to restrain him until police arrived. In Pennsylvania, testimony is scheduled to resume today in the Tree of Life Synagogue massacre trial. Jurors on Thursday heard from a forensic expert testifying for the prosecution in the capital murder trial of Robert Bowers. Bowers is accused of killing 11 worshipers at a Pittsburgh synagogue. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Summit Racing wants you to gear up your truck or Jeep for your next off-road camping adventure. With millions of parts in stock, you'll find off-road and outdoor essentials so you can camp confidently and comfortably. SummitRacing.com. Everything you need for anything you drive.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
History is not on the side of the Miami Heat. 36 teams have been down 3-1 in the NBA Finals, and only one has fought back to win the championship. LeBron did it in 2016 when he was with Cleveland. He helped the Cavs bounce back and beat Golden State for the title. The Denver Nuggets are up 3-1 on Miami, and they're at home tonight for Game 5. Everything is in the Nuggets' favor to close it out and win the first championship in the franchise's 56-year history. Tip-off tonight at 5:30 on ABC. The WNBA is considering major changes in how their teams travel after Brittany Griner was harassed over the weekend inside the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. The slumping Dodgers are back in L.A. after a 2-4 road trip. They are 2-6 in their last 8 games. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Everybody in the house, make some noise!
Is there a better day of the year to celebrate the anniversary of the only unapologetically progressive talk station west of the Mississippi, focused on issues that impact the black community?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We think not. A station that amplifies black voices like yours with hosts and guests who look and sound like you. Celebrating our second anniversary on Juneteenth. We're KBLA Talk 1580. And you ain't seen nothing yet.
Gotta stay fresh, my House shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
The pandemic may be over, but many Angelinos could be at risk of losing the place they call home. It's important to know your rights as a residential renter in the city of LA. Did you know eviction protection still exists for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt that was due before March 31st, 2023? And that you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice, also known as an unlawful detainer. Learn more about your rental rights at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that's between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Eligibility criteria apply and funding is limited. For more information, visit COVIDPaidSick.com. If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that has between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. For more information, visit COVIDPaidSick.com.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Steve Dunwoody is with us. He's an educator and environmentalist and long time, I don't know, you call yourself a political operative, strategist. What's the title for that? I mean, you worked with the Obama administration. You've worked many a policy campaign.
Yes, well, I think I'll use a term that my dad likes to use, Politico.
Politico, okay, I love it. And so Howard from Watts called. He was talking about the Trump, the latest Trump indictment. That sounds crazy, the latest indictment. This one, a federal case, though, from the Department of Justice, 37 counts. And it, of course, is going to polarize the country. It's already doing so with the Republicans in the House jumping through hoops to say that this indictment shouldn't be. And how do you read it as far as the impact on the country, as Howard was saying, and also on politics?
Yes. Well, this is indeed a historic time and occasion where, for the first time, a person who's had such rank in government has been held accountable for allegedly breaking the law. So this is a opportunity to really strengthen our democracy, to be able to show that no one is above the law, and see that Mr. Trump is held accountable for his actions.
Right, and I think to Howard's point, this is already a fundraising tool. The former president is already fundraising off the fact that he has been he's facing these charges, and I think he will continue to do so. His favorite play is victim, so that can actually add momentum to his campaign. And of course, we now know that you can be president while in jail. The president would not go to jail. I think, if anything, they'd give him an ankle bracelet and leave him at Mar-a-Lago, because that means the Secret Service would have to be in jail. I just don't see us jailing a U.S. president. I just don't see that ever happening. At least Democrats wouldn't. I think Republicans would definitely have tried to put Hillary Clinton in Rikers Island. But it's not the same, though, because when Hillary Clinton and Mike Pence were asked about documents, they handed them over. There's nothing in the indictment about taking the documents. What's in the indictment is you didn't give them back when you were told to do so, and you obstructed efforts to get them returned where they belong.
Yes. And through these indictments, these are very serious charges that the president is facing in terms of what was done with them and who saw them and what information he disclosed, that as he's found that post presidency he cannot declassify these documents. So this is going to be interesting. This is a first for the country, but at the same time this is necessary for accountability to ensure that everyone understands just how serious these issues and charges are.
Yeah, I think it is. And, I hope that the former president doesn't take it a step further as he did on January 6th and really use the indictment as a rallying cry for whatever scheme he has up his sleeves to either regain power or keep himself out of jail. Let's go to Mike calling us from LA. Good morning, Mike. You're on with Steve Dunwoody and me, Dominique DePrimo. Welcome.
Good morning, Dominique. I was calling. I was listening to him talking about the environmental thing, and he had mentioned asthma from the oil wells and stuff.
Yeah.
And I live in View Park, and I usually, before I would walk from the bottom of the hill all the way up to the top in the morning, early morning. And one morning I was walking up, and I had this strange smell that was coming from the oil wells. The oil wells are between Fairfax and La Cienega. And I guess wind was blowing this smell over, and I smelled this thing, and I was walking, and then when I started walking back, I barely made it home. I just was struggling for air, and I said, well, maybe I'm just out of shape or something. So, then my situation got worse and worse. And I was struggling, breathing, and carrying on. I'm a veteran. I went to the Veterans Health, and they were saying, well, maybe it's your thyroid that's causing this this shortness of breath. And it went on. They took my thyroid out, and I still had this thing where shortness of breath and struggling with breathing. And then I went to a private doctor, and he said, well, how long you had asthma? I said, asthma? I'm 75 years old. I never had no asthma. He said, you have asthma. So they've been treating me for asthma. I got these inhalers and stuff and treating me for asthma, but I haven't recovered, and this has been like 3 years now. 3 years ago this happened to me, and I'm still struggling with my breathing and stuff. And I was wondering, are there any studies, could you ask him, is there any studies on the effects of the oil wells near residents, and could somebody get asthma from this?
Sir, thank you for your question, and I'm very sorry that this has happened to you. For me, I think this is a case example of making that connection between many of the the chemical exposures that are coming from these areas, and many of them are in a sense undetectable, or one can barely be able to smell them, in the sense of knowing that anything in particular is off. And there's numerous studies that have shown the connection between the proximity to these oil fields, even after operation, if they're not cleaned up properly, of different kinds of exposures and the effects of that, and the connection of asthma and other kinds of ailments with people living nearby and working and going to school. So, I would say yes, that there are studies that have been pointed towards that, and that's all the more reason why we need to phase out urban oil drilling in our communities.
Wow. Thank you for your service, by the way, Mike. But here's the thing. Does Mike have any recourse?
Well, I think I would think so. I think there's a great many people that could have recourse for I think these actions that have taken place to have these operations taking place in so close proximity to people. So I would leave that up to his determination to make, but I do think there is.
Did that answer your question? Answers a few of mine, Mike.
Yeah. Well, one last thing about Trump, like I said, I believe he's going to be convicted, but his Supreme Court's going to overturn the eviction. So.
Oh, okay.
So that's why he elected all the Supreme Courts on his side. So anything that they do, they're going to overturn it, just like they overturned the thing about I think they had you were talking about this company sued the union because they went on strike.
Oh yeah, because the cement truck drivers parked their trucks, even though they left the thing churning so it wouldn't freeze up, and walked off the job. They're Teamsters, and the company sued and went all the way to the Supreme Court, and now has found the extreme court, as I like to call them, has found that unions can be held liable to losses or damages made to a company as a result of their strike, which could have a really chilling effect on labor organizing, even though experts say that is a very narrow decision that sticks to the facts in this particular case. It sets a precedent that seems very problematic to me as a non-lawyer but graduate of the School of Common Sense.
And it was one person that voted against it. That was
Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's right. Crazy, right? Well, it's not crazy, but it shows you that we have to expand this court. I mean, which is something Congress could vote to do.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Well, I pray for your good health and hopefully some kind of way, some accountability for whoever imposed that those toxins on your body. We're talking with Steve Dunwoody. There's so many things in the news right now that I would like to get your take on. LA Times had an article over the weekend about how taking over the Congress on a national level may come down to Southern California. We'll look at that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's me, Gia Peppers. For our third Juneteenth episode, we're uncovering the hidden history behind our newest national holiday with Professor Juneteenth himself, Sam Collins III. This episode of More Than That is sponsored by My Black is Beautiful, empowering Black women along our journey to achieve beauty on our terms. We were talking about how Juneteenth really came into the public view during the 2020 civil rights continuation moment, our Black Lives Matter movement. And though some people did know about it, a lot of people in the country, it was their first time hearing about it. But how did you become so passionate about Juneteenth in particular?
To think back when I was more kind of conscious of what the holiday meant was probably the early 80s. Before that, we were just having a good time with your friends. You don't really know the meaning of the holiday and until you get a little bit older and this is why we celebrate. This is why we listen to the stories of the elders.
Yes.
We have real heroes and real people from real places in our family, our grandparents, great-grandparents, our parents, our uncles, aunts.
Yes.
They have superpowers in their DNA, and we draw strength from that superpower of their very existence.
Exactly.
As we do the work to repair the narrative of our shared American history, Texas history, and world history, it is important that when you're having these celebrations, it's not just about partying and listening to music. Have something that feeds our mind and spirit that will help us to become better human beings.
I love that. I love that.
We can help every individual become the very best version of themselves so that we have better families, we have better neighborhoods,
yes,
and hopefully a better world.
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
A lot of the folly that we're seeing now in our country has to do with the Republicans' narrow majority in the House of Representatives, where they can block just about any legislation at this point from going through, and they are pulling shenanigans such as, trying to shut down the government over the debt ceiling, and then not allowing things to get onto the floor because they didn't get their way and get the government shut down, even though they did manage to, blackmail the president out of some concessions, which are going to hurt working people and low-income folks. That said, Democrats have a plan to get the House back in 2024, and it seems like California has an outsized role in that.
Yes, and there's actually several seats that could help to flip the House here in that are here in Southern California. One of which is the seat that would be vacated by Congresswoman Katie Porter in Orange County, for example. And that would, I think, help to, if we were able to flip, if Democrats were able to flip the Congress over, that would certainly be a godsend for the president, I'm sure, who's in the last few weeks had to deal with a situation in which the Republicans in Congress have essentially been holding the budget and country hostage for the debt for not paying the debt limit, which is something that should already be taken care of based upon the obligations that the government already made, but through creating this crisis, which didn't need to be a crisis situation, they cut several funds to departments and other programs, increased requirements for SNAP and other kinds of programs that really, folks need to put food in their mouths, across this country. So it's disappointing to see, those kinds of cuts happen in the debt deal, and, that, now we have to be able to move forward.
Yeah, and so I mainly point this out because a lot of times, if our districts, like with me, I live in a solidly Democratic district represented by an African American, but a lot of times we don't think we in California can impact those national races because we're already represented by Dems and we have a supermajority in the state government. But now these are neighboring. I mean, you could work on getting rid of Mike Garcia, which is Santa Clarita Antelope Valley. You could donate. You could volunteer. He's part of the valley as well. That's one seat that's considered vulnerable. You could help hold on to Katie Porter's seat. I'm not optimistic about that one, though, because she almost lost last time, and she raised almost $30 million. A strong fundraiser. That's why a lot of folks, myself included, wish she would have kept herself, in the Congress and held off on running for Senate or stayed in the House of Representatives, because that was an Orange County seat. And it's a little harder to dislodge some of those and move them over to the D column.
Yes, it is. Those are tough races in those places, and it's important, I guess, given that she's running for the Senate, that the kind of queue of folks in play for that are ready to win those kinds of races, because they are going to be pivotal. And when we're seeing these close votes take place in the House by just a few votes, the Democrats are going to need those seats.
Michelle Steele is another one. She's a Republican over there in Orange County, and mostly Asian district. Looks like she's going to face Garden Grove City Councilwoman Kim Yuen, and there'll be a Democrat versus a Republican in the Asian American community fighting over that seat. These are situations where our volunteerism or our donations could actually make a huge difference on the national stage. And so far, some of these races, like Mike Garcia, we've tried and tried and tried, and we can't seem to get the guy out of there. It's not too late to call me. In fact, it's early to call me. You can call me all the way up till 8 o'clock, 800-920-1580. Talking with Politico Steve Dunwoody, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like Biz Camp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Sunday, June 18th, come out to Africatown in Leimert Park for the Juneteenth Independence Revolution commemoration. The Independence Revolution will be part of a 3-day weekend to celebrate Juneteenth. Join in the national hashtag Wave of Freedom, where Black people across the country will stand in solidarity to demand reparations for Black American descendants of slavery. Hear from the frontline organizations who are fighting for better conditions for Black LA. Bring your dad to be part of the Honor Thy Fathers ceremony, which will acknowledge dozens of Black fathers in the community. See performances from some of LA's top local artists. Shop with a variety of local Black merchants selling food, clothes, art, and more. The Juneteenth Independence Revolution is a free event for the entire family. Sunday, June 18th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., come to Africatown in Leimert Park to celebrate Black Independence Day. The Juneteenth Independence Revolution is brought to you by Africatown Enterprise, the African Village Vendors Association at Leimert Park, Black Lives Matter LA, Downtown Crenshaw, and Destination Crenshaw.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
And speaking of the Congress, you are making your bid for Congress this election season. What made you decide to throw your hat in the ring?
Yes, well, I've been taking a look at it, in terms of what has happened, in particular because of what's going on across the country. I do a lot of advocacy around the environment, but what we're seeing take place in so many ways is so much bigger. We're seeing massive gun violence that is out of control. I myself have not been spared, and a veteran, as a veteran who served in Iraq,
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I've seen, there have been times where I felt safer almost in a conflict zone than I have in my own neighborhood. And, that's a case in point where, something needs to be done. We need people who are going to step forward for not only this issue, but also the housing crisis that we're in, the lack of affordability for people to be able to afford, to be able to, pay rent or to buy their first home. And then also we've got the crisis of, housing crisis. We've got the climate crisis, of course, and emergency. So these kinds of things, to me, are case in point examples of reasons why we need leaders in Washington who are going to work to champion these issues and put everything on the line. This is not about feathering the nest of a political career. It's about actually coming forward with solutions to these issues so that we can move the country forward.
And how do you see, I mean, those are big issues, but I want to circle back where we started, because I know your heart is with environmentalism. What are some of the kinds of solutions that we should be looking at?
Well, what we need in terms of the environmental piece is we need to be able to continue to ensure that we're, having situations in which, the pollution and other kinds of things that are happening in our communities stop. This is an environmental justice issue. One example of things that could help with that are the Inflation Reduction Act in particular could help with that because there's all kinds of funds that have been are available for organizations that want to do the work of helping to ameliorate a lot of these issues that are taking place in communities. So that's my plug for the Inflation Reduction Act, to be able to use that to move forward to champion an even larger aspect of a Green New Deal that will lead to investments in clean energy jobs for our communities and be able to continue to deal with the climate emergency.
Yeah, well, maybe when you'll come back another time and we can talk about plastic. That's one of the things that keep me up at night, just all the plastic taking over our planet, single-use plastics. But Steve Dunwoody, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Tell us how we can keep track of what you're up to.
Thanks. Well, feel free to go to my website. It's stevedunwoodyforcongress.com. But also keep track of me on Instagram, Steve Dunwoody, California.
Steve Dunwoody, CA. Well, thanks for coming live and in person in KBLA. And you know what time it is. We're going to get our mindfulness on, and then it's time to call me. Let's talk about it, whatever your it is. 800-920-1580, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The man accused of killing a homeless man with a chokehold in a New York